Listen up, folks. Something disturbing is happening in the gun racks, and nobody's telling you straight. If you've wandered into a specialty shop lately, you've seen it. Those shelves, used to be packed solid with polymer junk and options nobody needed, are clearing out in specific corners. The prices on proven, combat-tested platforms? They're climbing like a tick on a hound dog. The customer changed too. Gone is the newbie asking what's fun to shoot. Now the question is urgent, desperate. What can I still buy before they slam the door forever? This tectonic shift isn't fear-mongering. It's a cold read of the facts. We are facing three pressures at once: state bans spreading like the flu, import stability that could cut off supply overnight, and regular citizens waking up to the cold truth. The police ain't coming fast enough. We're talking tools for protecting your life when things go sideways. The deadline feels like 2026. I'm cutting through the marketing hype right now to show you the 12 platforms the sharpest Americans are stacking quietly. These aren't toys, brother. These are tactical investments. You ignore this list, you're betting your future security against a system built to disarm you. Pay attention, because what you don't buy today will likely be illegal or unaffordable tomorrow. Zastava ZPAP92. This whole mess off with a dose of brutal reality straight from the Balkans. The Zastava ZPAP92. This ain't for the casual shooter complaining about recoil. This is the new platinum standard for the import market. The ATF classifies this thing as a pistol, but you and I know better. In the real world of tactical application, this delivers carbine ballistics and terminal performance in a short, maneuverable package. We're looking at a long-stroke piston system pulled straight from the Kalashnikov design, the kind that demands no apologies. It's heavy, loud, and spits fire, but it delivers devastating kinetic energy thanks to the cartridge. 7.62 by 39, designed to punch through barriers, not just make pretty holes in paper. The engineering here is archaic in the best way. It uses a 1.5mm stamped steel receiver and a beefed-up bullet trunnion that's thicker than an average AK. That means this weapon's durability is measured in decades, not rounds. The chrome-lined barrel is built to swallow the dirtiest, most corrosive ammo you can find when scarcity hits. Now, the ergonomics? A brick. Don't expect modern comfort. The trigger is military, rough, and functional. But this is where most folks get it wrong. You don't buy this for comfort. You buy it because it will run when your competition AR-15 is choked with dust. The outlook for 2026 is grim. These rifles are imported. One signature on an executive order cuts off military-style foreign-made arms. The risk profile is neon red. Any future legislation hitting external magazines, barrel shrouds, or assault features will put the ZPAP92 dead center on the target. The smart play right now is securing the base rifle and then aggressively hoarding 30-round steel magazines and a basic spare parts kit. Those who understand geopolitics know this is the last train to get quality Soviet steel before politics makes it impossible. Sig P320 Macro is the platform that rewrote the rules on concealed carry physics. The Sig P320 family, specifically the X Macro variant. Looks like just another slim 9mm pistol that vanishes under a t-shirt, right? Wrong. Dig into the engineering and you see the exact recipe the modern defense market has standardized. The sheer volume of firepower, which used to be the exclusive territory of huge service pistols, now fits in a frame you can hide on your belt without printing. We're talking 17 rounds packed into a package that defies dimensional logic, wearing an optics-ready footprint, ready for the best red dots and quality night sights. The technical genius, and why this is a critical investment, is that built-in compensator on the slide. It's not a threaded accessory adding length. It's part of the structural design venting gas upward to keep the muzzle flat during fast shooting. This lets a subcompact pistol handle and shoot like a much bigger, heavier-duty piece. But there's a trade-off. The system is complex and demands a firm grip. If your technique isn't dialed in, you'll induce malfunctions. Modularity is key too. You can swap the grip module for a smaller one for summer, or a bigger one for winter, keeping the same serialized fire control unit. Why the urgency for 2026? Because capacity is legislator number one's enemy. The X macro is the perfect example of too much power in too small a package, especially by the restrictive standards coming down the pipe. The illegal pressure against carry culture is going to spike. If carrying is still legal where you live, they'll probably demand it be invisible. The hoarding strategy here is simple. One primary pistol for daily carry, a spare frame, and a box full of standard and extended magazines. Down the line, having 17 rounds ready on your belt might be a legal luxury you can't buy anymore. Beretta 1301 Tactical. We move to a platform that should be mandatory in any serious 2026 defense inventory. The Beretta 1301 Tactical. Technically a shotgun, in the hands of a competent operator, this system functions as a short-range area denial tool that's nearly impossible to counter. The reason pros are quietly hoarding the 1301 is its blink gas system. This mechanism is arguably the fastest cycling action on the market today, cycling 36% faster than its closest competitors. That lets you put a wall of lead downrange before your threat even processes the first shot. Material quality is typically Italian, impeccable. But don't be fooled. This isn't some fancy living room scattergun. It's a war machine. The self-cleaning gas system lets the 1301 digest everything from light practice loads to heavy defensive buckshot without hiccuping. However, the cost of entry is steep, and the accessory market is thinner than American platforms. The ergonomics are fantastic, with oversized controls designed for use under extreme stress, with cold or gloved hands. It's compact, light, and brutally efficient. The ugly reality for 2026 is the vulnerability of high-end imports. If trade relations shift or import rules tighten up on semi-automatic shotguns, a category lawmakers especially despise, finding a reliable tactical shotgun like this will become a financial nightmare. Smart buyers are locking down the factory magazine extension and adjustable stock versions now. The play is simple. Secure the gun, add a high-lumen light, a solid sling, and stack at least 500 rounds of quality buckshot. This is your last line of defense when everything else fails. Sig P320 Fire Control Unit. We examine what the range crowd calls the Bitcoin of handguns, the Sig P320 Fire Control Unit, the FCU. On paper, that FCU is just a small, serialized stainless steel chassis with some springs and a trigger. But in the real world, it's your golden ticket to a massive modular ecosystem that's basically future-proof. You can have that serialized fire pack living in a subcompact frame by morning, swap it to a full-duty slide by afternoon, and drop it into a heavy compensated competition frame on Sunday. Legally, the FCU is the gun. Everything else is just plastic and metal parts you can order through the mail. The engineering here rips up the traditional one-gun, one-purpose paradigm. Still, this versatility comes at a cost. The stock P320 trigger isn't to everyone's taste, feeling a little spongy compared to more refined systems. Plus, the bore axis height is considerably higher than other platforms, which can increase the perceived recoil. But the logistical advantage is undeniable. Maintenance, repairs, and upgrades become tasks you can do right on your kitchen table without needing a gunsmith. The reason folks are stacking these FCUs for 2026 is they see exactly where the federal wind is blowing. Lawmakers love using buzzwords like ghost gun and are trying to close the net on anything easily converted or built at home. If the laws get tight, owning 20 registered pistols in a safe is a lot of paperwork and exposure. But owning a discrete row of legally purchased FCUs lets you build whatever the mission requires later on. The hoarding strategy isn't buying 20 cheap guns. It's securing 2 or 3 high-quality control units and then going heavy on the non-serialized parts. You're pre-configuring your arsenal for a future where the central component might be impossible to source. Smith & Wesson MMP 2.0 Carry Comp. If there is one firearm that has consistently bested Glock in every head-to-head test we've run over the last 5 years, it's the M&P series. While Glock was busy changing generation numbers without making real changes, Smith & Wesson was listening to shooters and refining a platform that is, in my opinion, the best striker-fired pistol on the planet right now. The structural rigidity of its steel chassis embedded in the polymer gives it a rock-solid feel no other plastic gun has. The main reason it takes the top spot is the ergonomic interface. The M&P features an 18-degree grip angle, modeled after the classic 1911. That means when you extend the weapon, the sights naturally line up with your eyes without you having to hunt for them, a common complaint about Glock's unnatural angle. The 2.0 series also features one of the best grip textures in the business. But the carry comp variant has the power port built right into the muzzle, redirecting gas upward to keep the muzzle down. Unlike a threaded compensator that adds length and makes finding a holster a nightmare, this is built into the slide's overall profile, keeping it compact enough for daily carry. The trigger has been upgraded to their new flat-face design, providing a much more natural finger placement and a cleaner break. We've run thousands of rounds through various M&P models with almost zero failures. Its reliability is frankly superior to what we've seen from recent Glock releases. The 2026 verdict is harsh. The M&P 2.0 carry comp is the definitive domestic edge. This is a weapon that combines legendary reliability with modern recoil mitigation engineering in an increasingly volatile world. You want the gun that gives you every mechanical edge without sacrificing durability? This is it. It's the new standard by which all others, including Glock, must be judged. Glock 20, Gen 5, 10mm auto. We're talking about the heavy hitters, the large-frame service pistols in 10mm auto, embodied by the Glock 20 Gen 5. This is the one-gun option for the man who only wants to bet on a single card to handle any scenario, urban or wild. When you feed a Glock 20 with full-power 10mm auto loads, you are stepping into ballistics that overlap with Magnum revolver territory. But you're doing it with a real magazine capacity of 15 rounds, instead of just 6 in a cylinder. It's a controllable handgun caliber. Technically, the Gen 5 improved recoil management with dual recoil springs and better texture, making the formidable 10mm manageable for most serious shooters. Reliability is typical Glock, boring and perfect. However, the frame size is huge. If you have small hands, you're going to struggle to control it. The ammo is pricier and eats up more space, but the trade-off is terminal versatility, barrier penetration, defense against large predators, and extended effective range. That's why folks are stacking them for 2026. A lot of buyers are tired of juggling a safe full of niche calibers and consolidating into one serious platform that does it all. The risk angle is the same story. Any future rule hammering magazine capacity or trying to reclassify heavy handguns will fall directly on the Glock 20. The smart play here is a well-configured service pistol, a mountain of brass for reloading since the 10mm gets expensive, a respectable stock of Underwood or Buffalo bore defensive loads, and enough recoil springs to keep it running long-term. Staccato 2011 series. We discuss a platform that has completely redefined the high-end defensive market, the Staccato 2011 series. This is the evolution of the classic 1911, but modernized with a double-stack magazine and a hybrid polymer and metal grip frame that soaks up recoil like a sponge. When you grip a Staccato, you aren't just shooting a handgun. You are operating a precision machine that delivers a crisp trigger break under 4.5 pounds, and a reset that is almost telepathic. It's pure speed bought with cash. The engineering is superb, but it demands maintenance. Unlike a Glock you can ignore for years, a 2011 needs constant lubrication and regular cleaning to function 100%. They have tight tolerances. The match-grade bull barrel ditches the traditional bushing, meaning parts that fail under high heat, but it requires specific tools or techniques for field stripping. The cost is the main barrier. You're paying used car money for one pistol. The hoarding trend here is driven by two things: absolute reliability and the fear of luxury or feature-based bans. As we approach 2026, shooters realize good enough might not cut it when lives are on the line. They are moving their capital from 10 cheap plastic pistols and consolidating it into 1 or 2 staccatos that will last them a lifetime. The smart move is grabbing a P or C model now and then stacking those proprietary magazines, which are expensive and hard to find, and securing spare springs and firing pins. You're buying a professional-grade tool, and if the high-end American steel supply chain gets interrupted, you'll be glad you locked yours down early. TSUS PX9 Gen 3. To number 8, we have the TSUS PX9 Gen 3, and this is where the egos of many are going to bruise. There is an elitist segment in our community that sees a $300 price tag and immediately assumes it's junk. If you make that mistake with the PX9, you are missing out on one of the most robust and reliable striker-fired pistols on the market today. We ran this beast through nearly 1,000 rounds of everything, from cheap steel-cased junk ammo to plus P defensive loads, and the result was 0 stoppages, not one failure to feed or eject. Compare that to the new Glock Gen 6. While Glock charges you an absurd premium for the name and its supposed perfection, TSUS delivers a pre-built trigger that frankly embarrasses Austrian engineering. It breaks cleanly between 3.5 to 4 pounds right out of the box. It's a literal glass rod break with a reset so short and tactile you can feel it through tactical gloves on a sub-zero shooting session. The Turkish engineering has met NATO standards and then stomped them in terms of cost-benefit ratio, using reinforced polymers and nitride finishes that resist corrosion as well as any $1,000 weapon. The ergonomics are where this pistol truly distances itself from the brick grip of the standard Glock. TSUS didn't just toss a couple of backstraps in the box. They gave you a fully modular system with interchangeable side panels, technology you usually only see on a high-cost HKV P9. This lets you tune the grip volume to perfectly fill your hand, granting recoil control a standard Glock simply cannot physically provide. Plus, you get a factory-threaded barrel and steel fiber optic night sights, not the disposable plastic sights Glock insists on shipping. Looking toward 2026, the TSUS PX9 Gen 3 represents a critical opportunity. Geopolitical tensions and import regulations could shut off the Turkish gun spigot overnight. If you can snag a tool of this caliber for $300 today, you are buying life insurance at liquidation pricing. In a future where cheap guns vanish from the formal market, having a cheap, robust platform will be the difference between being armed and being helpless. Look at these platforms, brother. The smart money isn't chasing fancy cuts on a slide or the latest tactical fluff. They're buying tools that work, steel that lasts, and capacity that matters. When you step back and look at these acquisitions coldly, the message is loud and clear. Americans are methodically sorting weapons into tools they can hand to their family, assets where they can park their wealth, and platforms that will keep running if the supply chains, the tariffs, or the entire economy goes to hell after 2026. I'm not telling you to panic. I'm telling you to look at the data and think like the guys who are already preparing. The window of opportunity is closing, and complacency is your worst enemy. Now I ask you directly, and I want to see the debate boil over in the comments. If you had to bet your family's safety on only one of these platforms for the next 10 years without buying spare parts, which one do you choose? And why are most folks wrong about picking something else? Hit that like button, subscribe if you want more no-nonsense analysis, and stay sharp.